We put wheels on almost everything: cars, bikes, suitcases, office chairs, shopping carts, skateboards. The wheel is one of the greatest inventions in all of human history. And yet, in nearly 4 billion years of evolution, with millions upon millions of species crawling, swimming, slithering, and flying across this planet, nature has never once built an animal that rolls around on wheels. Not a single one. So what does evolution know that we don't? Why is the wheel the one brilliant idea that life itself decided to skip? The answer is genuinely fascinating, and it reveals something surprisingly deep about how evolution actually works. Let's get one thing out of the way first. It is not that wheels are bad. On a smooth, flat, hard surface, a wheel is incredibly efficient. It rolls with almost no friction. It doesn't have to lift itself up and down with every single step the way a leg does. And it can carry heavy loads with ease. If wheels were useless, this question wouldn't even be interesting. The whole mystery is that wheels are amazing, and life still didn't make one. So there must be a powerful reason holding it back. And it turns out there are three. The first reason is the big one, and it's basically a problem of plumbing. Think about what a real wheel actually requires. It has to spin freely and continuously, all the way around, again and again, forever, without stopping. To do that, the wheel has to be completely separate from the thing it is attached to. It connects only at the very center, at the axle, and that connection has to allow unlimited rotation. Now here is the catch. Every living part of an animal needs to be fed. It needs a constant supply of blood to deliver oxygen and nutrients, and it needs nerves to sense it and control it. Those blood vessels and nerves would have to physically connect the wheel to the rest of the body. But you simply cannot run a blood vessel across a joint that spins around forever. Picture it. After one rotation, the vessel wraps around the axle. After two, it pulls tighter. After a few more, it twists, it kinks, and it snaps. A living wheel would strangle its own blood supply within seconds. So a true biological wheel, made of living tissue, would just die. Now, you might be thinking, what if the wheel were made of dead material, like our hair, or our fingernails, or a deer's antlers? That is clever. And nature has actually solved the spinning problem before, but only at a tiny, tiny scale. Some bacteria have a structure called a flagellum, a long tail driven by a microscopic rotary motor. It is a literal wheel, and it spins thousands of times per minute to push the bacteria forward. So a freely rotating biological wheel really does exist, but it only works because it is microscopic. At that scale, parts can be fed by simple diffusion, with chemicals just soaking in from the fluid around them. Scale that wheel up to the size of a dog, or a horse, or a person, and diffusion gets nowhere near enough oxygen deep inside. A big wheel needs pipes, and pipes cannot cross a spinning axle. The plumbing problem is a hard wall. The second reason is the ground itself. We tend to forget how strange our world really is because we are the ones who built it. Roads, sidewalks, floors, parking lots. We have paved enormous flat surfaces specifically for our wheels to roll on. But that is not what nature looks like. The natural world is rough. It's rocks and roots and mud and sand and steep hills and fallen logs and loose gravel and tall grass. And on terrain like that, wheels are terrible. A wheel sinks into mud. It can't climb over a log taller than its own radius. It slips on loose sand, and it is completely useless on stairs. Legs, on the other hand, handle all of it. A goat can climb a near vertical cliff. An ant can march straight over obstacles many times its own size. Legs step over, climb up, and carefully pick their footing. So in the real environment that animals actually live in, legs simply beat wheels almost everywhere. Wheels only win on the smooth, prepared surfaces that we invented. Evolution was optimizing for the messy real world, and in that world, a wheel just isn't worth it. But there is a third reason, and it might be the deepest one of all. Evolution cannot plan ahead. It has no goal, no blueprint, and no ability to say, let's start building a wheel now, and in a few million years it will be amazing. Evolution can only ever take tiny steps. And every single step has to be useful on its own, right now. This is the real trap. Imagine an animal slowly trying to evolve a wheel. What would the halfway point even look like? Half a wheel is not a slightly worse wheel. It is just a useless lump that doesn't roll and doesn't walk either. There is no smooth, gradual path where each tiny change is an improvement that leads from an ordinary leg all the way to a free spinning wheel on an axle. Every in-between stage would be worse than what came before it, so evolution would never take those steps. Legs, by contrast, can be improved one tiny bit at a time. A slightly longer limb, a slightly stronger muscle, a slightly better joint. Each little step pays off immediately. The wheel is stranded on the far side of a valley that evolution has no way to cross. Now, you may have heard that some animals do roll, and that is true in a way. When a certain golden wheel spider is threatened, it tucks in its legs and cartwheels down sand dunes to escape. Pangolins curl into a tight armored ball and can roll downhill. Some caterpillars fling themselves into a wheel shape and tumble away from danger. But notice what is missing in every one of these. There is no axle, and there is no power. These animals are not driving wheels. They are just briefly using their whole body as a ball and letting gravity do the work. The moment the hill flattens out, the rolling stops. It is a neat trick, but it is not a wheel. It's the exception that quietly proves the rule. So could a true wheeled animal ever evolve? Almost certainly not. The plumbing problem kills it at the cellular level. The rough terrain makes it a bad bet, even if you could somehow build one. And the step-by-step nature of evolution means there is no path to get there in the first place. 3 separate walls, and any one of them would be enough on its own. And this is the part that makes the whole question worth asking. It reminds us that evolution is not an engineer. An engineer can look at a problem, imagine the perfect solution, and build it from scratch on a blank sheet of paper. Evolution can't do any of that. It is much more like a tinkerer, stuck working with whatever it already happens to have, making small changes, one at a time, that each have to pay off instantly. It produced wings, and eyes, and brains, and sonar, and the human hand. But it could never reach the wheel, because the wheel, as obvious and brilliant as it looks to us, sits on the far side of a gap that small steps simply cannot bridge. The best solution is not always a reachable one. And think about everything a leg can do that a wheel never could. A leg heals itself when it gets injured. It grows along with the animal from the moment it's born. It can grip, kick, dig, climb, jump, and swim. A wheel does exactly one thing and only on exactly the right surface. Evolution didn't skip the wheel because it failed. It skipped the wheel because the limbs it did build were, for a living thing in a wild and broken world, simply the better tool. So the next time you roll your suitcase through an airport or coast down the street on a bike, take a second to actually appreciate it. You are using one of the few genuinely great ideas that all of life, in 4 billion years of trying, never once managed to invent. And now, when somebody asks you why there are no animals with wheels, well, then you'll know.